Nestled in the far northwest of England, this is the Lake District. A land defined by its natural beauty. And known to millions who love the lakes was the late Alfred Wainwright, author, guide writer and talented artist. But above all, he was the greatest fell walker. Wainwright's guides have inspired generations of walkers to roam these glorious fells. And now, a century after his birth, it's my turn to go in search of the real Wainwright experience.
Today I'm in the jaws of the Borrowdale Valley to walk to the summit of Castle Crag, a small but spectacular fell here in the northwestern area of the lakes. Now, what makes this fell so special is that it's the only fell under 1,000 feet to make it into Wainwright's guides.
Today I want to discover what makes it worthy of inclusion.
The crag itself is like a mini mountain. It's got this lush tree-covered top. It's a bit Harry Potter, actually. Perfect then for a family walk of about 1.5 miles.
My walk begins at the pretty village of Grange in the heart of Borrowdale. Now, although I'm enjoying my walks in the lakes, it would take years to become any sort of expert. So to find out a bit more about Castle Crag and the history of this wonderful corner in England, I'm meeting Sarah Woodcock, the National Trust Senior Curator for the Lake District.
So, Sarah, what sort of presence does the Trust have here in the Lake District?
Well, the National Trust has been here for over 100 years and we now look after 25%, so a quarter of the Lake District.
Now, obviously, conservation is one of the main things that everyone knows about the Trust.
Absolutely, conservation is our main activity as well as giving access, and we work with volunteers preserving the landscapes and the buildings as well.
So they can come here for a week or for a year? Or...
They can, yeah, they can come for a week and do footpath work or work with our wardens in the forests, or, you know, any sorts of things, really, all sorts of things, work that needs doing on the land.
So it could be a small-term project, or if they want to get more stuck in and learn more?
They could come regularly, they could come and work with our learning staff and do learn about the properties, learn new skills. You know, there's all sorts of things people can do.
All right, let's talk a little bit about numbers. How many people come through the Lake District every year? How many potential volunteers are there?
Well, there are 19 million visitors to the Lake District now, which is a huge amount.
What Wainwright would make of that, 19 million?
I think he'd be really shocked, actually, really surprised, because he loved the peacefulness of the Lake District, so that would be a shock to him.
Is there any way that you can monitor what we're all doing? I mean, how many of us make it to the summits, or where we're all going to, what we're doing?
It's very difficult to do that because it's open access. You can't really measure how many people are here. So one of the ways we do that is through the car parks.
Right.
For instance, the car park we've just come from, there's over 200,000 visitors through that car park each year.
Blimey, so that's like a big London, you know, car park in a shopping mall or something.
Yeah.
So tourism is obviously the big industry now, but it wasn't always that way, of course.
No. I mean, you can see in the landscape the history of activity here, starting with the sheep farming, working through quarrying and mining. And the quarrying and mining industry was really on an industrial scale in Borrowdale in particular.
And that would have all been happening in Wainwright's day, wouldn't it?
It would. It was at its height, actually, the slate quarrying. There were over 100 people employed in quarrying just in this quarry up here. And same with the mining, again, over 500 people employed in the mining industry.
Seems hard to imagine, doesn't it, that you'd be sort of taking a peaceful stroll through the lakes and there would be this sort of
you know,
Absolutely.
hive of
Industrial
activity.
going on. Yeah, very different.
Now, I'm up to Castle Crag, as you know, today. What sort of things should I be looking out for? What's on the way?
Well, look out for the Herdwick sheep, particular to the Lake District and introduced by the Vikings.
Are they scary?
No, they're not scary, they're very friendly.
Viking
actually.
sheep, okay.
Yeah, very gentle. And also, look out for the wonderful caves.
Ooh, caves. OK, I will watch out for those. Moody, ominous cave. I won't do potholing, though. All right, Sarah, thanks for your help this morning.
That's okay.
Cheers, bye-bye. Before I head off, let's take a moment to look at the route ahead. Castle Crag is situated in the northwestern area of the Lakeland Fells. It lies on the edge of Derwent Water, and unlike my other walks, this is a low-level valley walk, progressing through Borrowdale. My journey begins at the picturesque village of Grange. The first stage of the route is covered by woodland and follows the edge of the river. I'll make my way across the National Trust campsite at Hollows Farm before the woodland opens out at the mouth of the river. Next, the path turns off and heads southward towards the old quarry road. Here, the route is swamped by the imposing crags on either side. Then the path splits off and I follow a short, sharp ascent up the crag side, navigating my way through a zigzag path carved out of the slate spoil heap, before making my final ascent to the grass-covered plateau and reaching the professionally made summit cairn.
This is a really nice, gentle walk. I mean, half a mile in, we're still on the road, but there it is, the lost world waiting for us.
When Wainwright wrote Book 6, the Ordnance Survey hadn't determined the altitude of the summit at Castle Crag. By comparing the horizontal plains of surrounding fells to the east and west, Wainwright quoted the height as 985 feet in Book 6 of his pictorial guides. But the official height today is recorded as 951 feet.
But hey, what's the other 30 feet between friends? But that is exactly the kind of detail that Wainwright was obsessed with.
These are Wainwright's own enthusiastic thoughts on this diminutive fell.
If a visitor to Lakeland has only 2 or 3 hours to spare, poor fellow, yet desperately wants to reach a summit and take back an enduring memory of beauty and atmosphere of the district, let him climb Castle Crag.
The path runs alongside the River Derwent, which winds its way through the Borrowdale Valley. Wainwright calls Castle Crag an obstruction in the throat of Borrowdale, as it forces the river through a narrow gap before widening so it can continue on to feed into Derwent water.
The weather in the Lake District is so changeable that sometimes a short walk with spectacular views is perfect. And with this one, you get to reach a summit as well. All that and back in time for lunch. Quite sweet, really. Just look at it. If you're a Lakeland poet, how could you not be inspired?
There's something fairy tale-like about the appearance of this place. That's the great thing I've come to realise on my walk so far. No two are the same. Even the same fell can be experienced in so many different ways. I'm sure there are one or two of those Viking sheep here I'm supposed to be looking out for.
Well, I thought I might see one or two, not a full herd. Hiya.
Wainwright was a huge animal lover, so much so he even dedicated Book 4 of his pictorial guides to
the hardiest of all fell walkers, the sheep of Lakeland, the truest lovers of the mountains, their natural homes and providers of their food and shelter.
Getting a bit hot now. Just listen to that. That is one of the most beautiful sounds in the world.
I'm only 10 minutes away from the road, but as I head through the woods, out of the foot of the valley, I can feel that this gentle ascent has begun.
There's just so much to take in, visually, and so much to listen to. Too much to commit to memory. So what Wainwright used to do was take photographs on all of his walks, which, if you think about it, in the 1950s and 60s, that was pretty impressive.
Whilst out walking, Wainwright would make notes, but he never drew in situ. He would painstakingly create sketches from his photographs, fitting them together to get the whole view of a mountain range or the entire summit view. Using just pen and ink, he was able to bring to life his Lakeland walks as detailed illustrations.
Always watch where you're going. That's what Wainwright said. Woo. Although Wainwright was a solitary, fiercely private man, some might even say curmudgeonly, he also had a well-known sense of humour, quite a dry sense of humour, and he occasionally dropped this into his writing. Now, this is Book 6, and the walks included in Book 6, the North Western Fells, and there's an interesting dedication to those unlovely twins, my left leg and my right leg, staunch supporters that have carried me about for over half a century, endured much without complaint, and never once let me down. Nevertheless, they're unsuitable subjects for illustration. It's amazing how the light changes. We've come from this sort of dark, densely packed forest almost into this. Look at the craggy grey open rock face. It's really beautiful, but it's so different. The landscape just changes. You go through a gate and that's it.
It's a really different experience walking in the valley because I can't see great views around me as with the higher level walks. Instead, these imposing crags are towering over me.
Look at that view. Beautiful. Derwent water, glistening in the valleys. Gorgeous. Now, this isn't a big walk by any means, but you feel small in this valley. You can really feel a sense of walking into the V, into the neck of it.
As a civil servant, Wainwright was in the enviable position of being able to enjoy the fells for pleasure. For the local quarrymen, the lakes were part of the industrial landscape, a place where they would work long and grueling hours for the equivalent of 12.5 pence a day in today's money.
This is really where you get a sense of the history of this part of the lakes. Formerly a walling stone quarry, Castle Crag is now a silent reminder of a once thriving industry. This is what Wainwright says about the spot. It's pitted with cuttings and caverns and levels, every hole having its telltale spoil heap. If these fells could talk, huh? It's actually quite moody as well. You can see the shards of slate. And speaking of moody, I think there's a bit of a moody change in the air as well. I can feel rain.
With more than 3,500 kilometres of rights-of-way, there's plenty to explore in the Lake District. This mountainous area in England is, however, known for its temperamental weather. The Borrowdale Valley is in fact the wettest valley in England, with an average rainfall of 140 inches per year. The fell tops can give fantastic views of the surrounding landscapes, but also have more severe weather conditions than in the valleys. Mist, cloud and horizontal rain, all familiar to the Lake District, can make any walk hazardous.
And as is customary around these parts, I shall make my mark atop of the cairn. Might be small, but it's on the top. And that is where we're heading. Look, this is only a baby walk, but I feel tiny.
It may be the wettest valley in England, but the rain is holding off, although the wind is biting cold.
We're still only about 400 feet up here. The climb's getting a little bit steeper, but already the views are amazing. Derwent water is over that way, and Rossthwaite through there. And this barren landscape is just beautiful, actually, all the grey slate. A lone tree just in the middle here.
This is a lovely spot, and it appears that other people have thought it was special too.
Perfect little pit stop. Oh, just what you need on a walk, although, of course, it's very dangerous to sit down on a big walk or a small walk, because you never want to get up again. Now, Sarah told me about the caves, and I can spot one over there on the other side of the valley, but that's going to be too much of a detour for me right now, because I've still got all that way to go.
The detour from the quarry road leads to a series of caverns, the most famous of all being known as Milliken Dalton's Cave. He abandoned his job as an insurance clerk in London for a life of adventure and freedom. The call of the wild led him to take up summer residence in a massive cave on Castle Crag. He was a self-titled Professor of Adventure, a vegetarian, a pacifist, and a teetotaler. He became known as the Borrowdale Hermit. The humorous words carved onto his cave still read, "Don't waste words, jump to conclusions."
It's not exactly what you expect to see up here. A ladder. Oh, I guess there's no elegant way to do this. Interestingly, Wainwright acknowledges that Castle Crag isn't a fell in its own right. He describes it as a protuberance on the rough breast of Borrowdale. It's a bit harsh.
In his 6th book, Wainwright offers these words of wisdom to the novice walker.
The first lesson that every fell walker learns, and learns afresh every time he goes onto the hills, is that summits are almost invariably more distant, a good deal higher, and require greater effort than expected. Fell walking and wishful thinking have nothing in common.
It's getting steep now. Shouldn't have had those fish and chips. Please, my mum didn't come with me. Oh. Whew. God, look at that. This is incredible. But why? I'm a bit puffed now. I can't believe we've got to get to the top of that. It looks like some sort of computer game, the maze.
This precarious spoil heap represents exactly one of the aspects of the fells that Wainwright was fascinated by, the traces of man on the landscape. Castle Crag Quarry was still working as late as the 60s, with the quarrymen using gunpowder to blast the slate. This impressive spoil heap would have developed over decades as the fell was excavated.
This is a climb certainly worthy of a bigger fell. Oof. Oh, hello world. Now we're about 600 feet here. Whew. Not even at the summit, but look at the views. That's the village of Wainwright down there, which of course is where the quarrymen would have lived. And snaking through the middle of the village is the road that Wainwright would have travelled along. Of course, he didn't drive famously, so he travelled all around the Lake District on the buses.
Wainwright's passion for this lovely valley was abundantly clear in his chapter on Castle Crag.
It encloses 1 mile of country, containing no high mountain, no lake, no famous crag, no tarn, but in the author's humble submission, it encloses the loveliest square mile in Lakeland, the jaws of Borrowdale.
I finally reached the quarry, and this is not what I was expecting at all.
This is just really strange, quite eerie. It's like the statue park in Budapest, actually, or a graveyard, but just weird and eerie.
In fact, no one is really sure if the stones were ever laid out like this for a reason, or even when they appeared. They're regularly cleared away, but nevertheless mysteriously continue to reappear.
And if you take a peek around here, you can see where the quarrymen have carved into the summit, and God, they've taken a big old chunk out. This is the bit that's always so exciting. You make it to the top. And already the views are magnificent. And this is it. Hee-hee. And there looks to be the cairn. So that's the proper top, really. And here's the big old crevice chopped out of the rock. It's just so picturesque. It's like a little magic kingdom up here. I mean, look at this. So Wainwright was very unimpressed by the size of Castle Crag, but for a bijou little mountain, I think it's pretty top rate. It's got views. You can do it very easily in a day, half a day. You've got incredible scenery when you're down below, making your way up. And once you're up here, what can you complain about? Nothing. At the highest point is a boss of rock, and at the top there's a professionally made cairn, and this is a war memorial to the men of Borrowdale.
Wainwright suggests in Book 6 that this rock was where an ancient British fort once stood.
One man armed with a stick could prevent its occupation by others, whatever their number, there being only one strategic point where passage upwards is restricted to single file.
It's down at the top till you get to the very top. Whew. Ta-da!
The view is restricted to the north, but there is a spectacular view of Derwent Water, backed by Skiddaw. What I've learned today is that Castle Crag may be less than 1,000 feet and covered by the scars left by man, but it's a perfect little gem, and I think it's truly deserving of its special status as the smallest of 214 fells to make it into Wainwright's 7 pictorial guides.
Wainwright says that Castle Crag is so magnificently independent, so ruggedly individual, so aggressively unashamed of its lack of inches. And quite right too.
Analysis and understanding behind the biggest issues facing our planet, the environment, nature and wildlife feature in the weekly Rare Earth podcast. Listen on BBC Sounds.